Liberal infighting is ongoing as three members of the party are publicly backing the net zero target. Jane Hume, Julian Leeser, Andrew McLachlan are all in favour of reaching the target by 2050. Mr Leeser is the only frontbencher who's fully supporting the climate initiative. The opposition leader Sussan Ley is defending the party though.
So while we might be presented as being at war, and that's how it's been described to me once or twice, that's actually not the reality. So there are a lot of sensible, calm, measured, disciplined discussions about the policy issues that matter. Because we know we're here for Australians who are doing it tough. And we're here for the national interest. And we're here to get an energy policy that actually backs in this country.
Coalition moderates, including Dave Sharma, are refusing to publicly announce where they stand at the moment. And as things stand, Sussan Ley is still the opposition leader. But after a few rocky weeks, some wayward decisions, and a fight with the junior partner of the coalition, the Nats, over net zero, how long is the question? Joining us live is the political editor, Andrew Clennell. So how long, Andrew? How long can she survive? Well, it's inevitably going to end.
I think she'll survive the calendar year. It's only inevitably going to end if the polls stay bad. And there's, it looks like they are going to stay bad for her. And so I expect a challenge about mid next year, if not early next year. Yeah. But the challengers, I think they have the view, well, people out there have to see that she's failing before we challenge. Because if you move too quickly before it's really seeped out into the public that the performer's done no good, particularly when it's a female leader, that can really work against the challenger. Think about Labor people had real doubts about Kevin Rudd and the way he was running the government, but they never pushed the narrative out there before they rolled him for Julia Gillard. That was a disaster. And, most Australians would say, well, she's only had 6 months. Why are you guys rolling this woman? So that's one of the reasons that they wouldn't move this early. But look, I know that I saw that Telegraph report, 3 MPs want net zero by 2050. I'm told there are 20, including Sussan Ley's closest senior confidant, Anne Ruston, as I reported earlier in the week, who said so in a leadership call, saying the Nats had a gun to their head and it would be mad to dump net zero. So think about this, Pete. She won the leadership with 29 votes. 20 of those people want net zero by 2050. And then you can see how she's completely wedged. Because if she kept net zero by 2050, the coalition would split. And then a candidate like Angus Taylor would say, well, if you want the coalition back together, you need to elect me leader. Yeah, that's how it would play out.
Is that where the push would come from?
That's why I believe Sussan Ley will dump net zero.
Yeah, right.
She will dump net zero 2050, I believe.
Does the move come from Angus Taylor eventually?
I don't know. How long's a piece of string, I honestly don't know. I think it could come from Hastie, it could come from Taylor, it could come from someone else. If you're at 24% primary mid-next year, if you're under 30% primary mid-next year, you've got to change leader. It does have one of those feels about it this term where you could see 3 opposition leaders in a term. Yeah. We've seen it before. We saw it between 93 and 96, Houston, Downer, Howard. We saw it 2004 to 2007, Latham, Beasley, Rudd. It's just things are so bad for the opposition, you could actually see that happening. You could see someone getting the job, stuffing up as well and getting rolled. I think Sussan Ley's been too timid. She hasn't been out in the front foot enough. She let the Nationals creep into the space by delaying a decision around energy policy. She thought that was smart, give it some time, review it properly, consult. That hasn't worked, has it? Because David Littleproud's gone, stuff you. I'm going to front run this. And that makes you look weak. And it's what happened to Peter Dutton on The Voice with the Nationals too. The Nationals are worried about the Nationals. And Littleproud's worried about Littleproud. So that's where you get a situation you look weak and you look like the tail is wagging the dog. And that hasn't assisted Sussan Ley either. Well, that's before we get to Joy Division and calling for Kevin Rudd to go and all these other issues she's had.
David Littleproud's coming up in a couple of minutes. He had a big, mighty chuckle at that last comment of yours, Andrew. There we go. But there's the thing for the coalition at the moment. There is an opening, right? Look what's happened to the RBA yesterday. The next move is probably going to be a rise. So the economy is not in great shape. You've got all this bailouts that are happening at the moment from manufacturers, key energy distributors, and the focus is on themselves. Something's not right there.
The biggest concern the government has going forward, I believe, is energy policy, energy prices. the slower than expected or hoped rollout of the energy transition. And that's why this decision by the coalition is quite important, that they get it right, that they go to both sides of the constituency, because they're sort of wedged by the constituency on this too. There are people who are for net zero, there are people who don't believe in climate change, both of whom they want to vote for them. Yeah. And that's a bigger problem for the coalition than for Labor. But yes, there are areas to exploit and hold the government to account, and they're pretty unable to do it because week after week there's another episode in the Liberal Party or National Party.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm talking about Jacinta Price off the front bench, Andrew Hastie off the front bench, Barnaby Joyce, getting out of the party room and the suggestion he might join One Nation, and then the Nationals announcing their position on net zero ahead of the Liberals. That's about, 4 of the last 7 weeks has been a big story about what a mess the coalition is, and that's heaven for government because they can, you don't look over
they don't have to do anything. They just sit back and watch it all happen. That's all the time we got. Good to see you, Andrew.
The world stage.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
See you.